Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I just want to talk about a trend I noticed in the recent Star Wars canon. So, some of our favorite Jedi and characters, they often cut themselves off from the Force after facing a traumatic experience. We've seen it with Luke Skywalker, we've seen it with Cere Junda, we've seen it with Cal Kestis, and even to a lesser extent, we've seen it with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, I don't think this is a bad concept. In fact, when it's used right, it can create something really powerful. But I do think it becomes too common in the current canon. The most famous example of this in the canon timeline is probably Luke Skywalker. After Ben Solo's fall to the dark side and Luke's Jedi Order being destroyed, Luke blames himself for the disaster and retreats to, what was the planet called? Something, and completely cuts himself off from the Force. And I mean, out of all people, I do not think Luke Skywalker would be the one to do that. And I'll touch more on that later in the video with who I think would be the one to. It was a dramatic story choice. It divided the fans because it's not what people expected them to see from Luke Skywalker. This is the same guy who never gave up on his father, Darth Vader, even though he was like the second most evil person in the galaxy at that time. Another character that I think suffers from this trope is Obi-Wan Kenobi. After the fall of the Republic, the destruction of the Jedi Order, in the transformation of Anakin into Darth Vader, Obi-Wan enters a period of deep isolation on Tatooine. He almost completely cuts himself off from the Force. He still watches over Anakin, but he isn't much of a Jedi anymore. He's just a working hobo that's still watching over this kid he cares about. But in the Legends timeline, this was so different, and this is why I prefer the Legends timeline over the main one. One of the reasons why I prefer it. In Legends, Obi-Wan Kenobi continued being a Jedi, but was just on a mission to protect and watch over Anakin Skywalker. He never cut himself off from the Force. He communicated with Qui-Gon Jinn. He meditated. He was still spiritual. He was still a Jedi at the end of the day. But in this new canon, they pulled him away so far from the Jedi religion that he refused to even take in the Jedi that came to Obi-Wan for help. Obi-Wan, I believe he told him to go bury his lightsaber and forget about the Jedi or something like that. And I didn't think that was Obi-Wan at all. Another example of this trope is Cere Junda. Cere survived Order 66, then she was captured and tortured by the Empire, and during her imprisonment, she taps into the dark side, and it terrified her. Unlike Luke, I think this example works really well. Cere's decision isn't based on giving up, it's based on fear and that she might become something even more dangerous. Her story is less about hopelessness and more about learning to trust herself, if that makes sense. And finally, we have Cal Kestis. After surviving Order 66 as a child, Cal spends years hiding from the Empire. Cal doesn't completely sever his connection from the Force the way Cere did, but he suppresses his abilities so much that many of them become inaccessible. His journey throughout the games is mostly about reconnecting himself with the Force and overcoming his trauma. And this is another one I think is believable because Cal was very young during Order 66. He was a Padawan or a youngling, I believe. So this feels believable that he wasn't fully devoted to the Jedi cause. I mean, he didn't fully develop as a Jedi. He's just a kid. Again, I don't think Jedi cutting themselves off from the Force is a bad storytelling device. When it's used occasionally, it can create powerful character arcs and emotional journeys. But when multiple major characters go through the exact same type of struggle, it starts to feel repetitive. It still happened in Legends, but not as often. I like to see future Star Wars stories explore different responses to trauma, especially the temptation of the dark side. Instead of returning to the same cut off from the Force, gotta reconnect storyline, I would like to see maybe Jedi Master turned evil, or Jedi Master turned gray Jedi. He has new views on the galaxy, something. And I'm not saying the current canon doesn't already have that. There's been plenty of people off the back of my head that I can think of. Kanan Jarrus, Ahsoka, Teron Malicos, Dagon Gera. Well, Dagon's a different thing. So overall, yeah, it's not bad, but I just would like to see them slow down on using that trope and maybe do something more like Cookrock's Legend storyline, if you guys are familiar. Well, yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and comment. Bye.